Everyone, welcome to the 737 FMC Beginner's Guide video. Today we'll be, as I mentioned, looking at the FMC of the 737. We're in the IFLY 737, but this should be very similar to both the PMDG and ZEBO mod and whatever other 737s there are out there for flight sims. And we'll be just talking about how to operate it and get you guys going from pre-flight all the way to shutdown with the 737. Stay tuned.
15.8 for 11,000 with echo.
Alright, so today we're sitting on the ground at Calgary here. We're going to be simulating a flight over to Vancouver. Now, again, as I said, this is just a beginner's guide. This is not going to be super advanced. I do recommend you go check out Flight Deck 2 Sims tutorial for if you're looking for some more tips and tricks. If you're more advanced than the 737, there's a great video on the CDU and some of its more advanced features in there. Let's put a link to it up here. Suggest you guys go check that out. But meanwhile, we're sitting here on the ground. I'm just going to go ahead and get this aircraft fired up, powered on, electricals on, everything like that, and we'll talk to you guys then. Alright, so now that we have electrical power coming to the aircraft, you see the FMC turns on. You do need to note that if you don't have AC power connected, only one FMC will turn on. The other FMC will turn off. Okay, so the first thing you can do is, when you're in the menu as the FMC opens up to, at least on the IFLY 737, is you want to click FMC. The aircraft may have other options. For example, some may say ACARS or something. They also often give you options, at least I know PMDG gives you an option to set up your simulator settings here. There would be different options, but IFLY gives you this menu, where you can load up failures, panel states, pushback, different things. And PMDG has a similar setup. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and click on FMC, so this button here. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the layout of the FMC. So obviously, as you can see, this is the screen of the FMC. And at the bottom of the screen, we have what's called the scratch pad. So this is where messages could pop up, or where you can type things in, as you can see there. So that all goes into the scratch pad. In some aircraft, you can access this through your keyboard by doing different things. PMDG, for example, you would hold the tab key on your keyboard, and that would allow you to type it out using your keyboard. With the IFLY, you can open it up in a 2D panel, click on the keyboard button, and then you can type with your keyboard and type that in. Anyway, so that's the scratch pad. Next thing is the line select keys, if you will often see them called. So these are the buttons on the side. They have names, so they go left, right, so line select key, and then a number, and then left, right, sorry. So this would be line select key 1 left. This would be line select key 1 right, and same thing all the way down. So 2 left, 3 left, 4 left, 5 left, 6 left, 1 right, 2 right, 3 right, 4 right, 5 right, 6 right. Okay, and then this is obviously your keyboard here, and then these are different menus that you can pull up in the FMC. This is a brightness knob, not simulated to my knowledge. Doesn't look like it yet, so it's not simulated on. What is it? Oh, it is simulated. You know what? So the brightness is simulated on the IFLY 737. I know, or I'm pretty sure it is at least on the PMDG 737 as well. Can't speak for the ZEBO or the default 737 and X-plane. And then this next button, very important, is the execute button, and we'll get into that later. Okay, so now that you see this page here, comes up when you hit FMC. You can see your aircraft, so we're in a 737-700 with winglets. The engine rating, so 22,000 pounds of thrust, 22K. The nav data, so current cycle, we're in ARIC 1808, so that's July 19th, August 15th, from July 19th to August 15th, 2018. This is expired, will not be used in real life, but it's the last one that I have, so that's the one that we're going to be using for today. And then the operating program, so your FMC's program. Again, this not really too relevant. I don't even know if the real aircraft has this or if this is just an IFLY thing. But yeah, that's what is on this page. This page is called IDENT. Okay, so what we're going to do to load up the aircraft is we're going to click line select key 6 right, so the button next to POS INIT. So when we click on that, it's going to bring up this screen here. So this is the aircraft's, so we're just going to go down, look at what the details are on the screen. So we have the aircraft's last position. We have the airport the aircraft is at. This needs to be entered by the pilot. We'll talk about that in 1 second here. This is the gate you're at, the GMT time, and then the month and date, and the IRS position. I'm not going to go into detail what the IRS is, but it's basically how the aircraft knows where it is and everything like that. I've turned my IRSs on, so they're currently aligning, and you need to enter this information when you're starting up the aircraft from a cold and dark, or even from a just electrical power-up state. If your IRSs get turned off and they get turned back on again, you need to enter the IRS position. So how do you do this? Or actually, back it up for a second here. So I was talking about how there's gaps here in the FMC. So you can see some gaps are boxes, such as this IRS position, and some are dashed lines. So if you ever see a dashed line, that is an optional entry. It's not required, but it could help with performance, or it can aid the flight management computer to calculate the plane's performance and whatnot, or just input more information for the pilots. However, you see boxes, those are mandatory pieces to enter, otherwise the aircraft will not operate correctly when you try and use the autopilot or whatever. So as you can see, the reference airport, this is just something for the pilots to know their coordinates. You'll see in a second. It's not mandatory to enter, but you can enter it. The IRS position, however, is mandatory, and you have to enter it for the aircraft to operate, otherwise the aircraft has no idea where it is. It'll still fly, but it's not going to be able to use the autopilot or anything, and your navigation displays, as you can see here, are not going to work without that. Alright, so let's go ahead and fill out this page real quick. So we're at Calgary today, so that's Charlie, Yankee, Yankee, Charlie. So I just typed that on the keyboard. You can see it comes up in the scratch pad. And then to enter it onto these dashed lines, I'm going to click line select key 1 left, or correction, 2 left. So that's this button right here. And you can see it pops it into those lines there. And we can see the coordinates of the airport. And we can check this against the last position, and we can see, yeah, that's pretty close. The gate is obviously going to be slightly different than the reference position for Calgary Airport. On the PMDG, I know you can enter a gate number, and that'll get you even more accurate coordinates. And then you have the option, once you do that, on the IFLY, it's not simulated, but when you do that, you have the option of either selecting the last position to enter into the IRS, the airport position, the gate position, or one other thing. I'll show you that in a second here. But for accuracy's sake, you really don't want to use the reference airport. It's not going to be accurate. The gate will be pretty accurate, but just in case you want to use, and last position could be accurate, may not be 100% accurate, depending if the aircraft was moved or something while the IRSs were off. But what we're going to do, we're going to hit next page button. So you see that there's a 1 out of 3 on the top. That's how many pages there are in this menu. So there's 3 pages in this POS INIT menu. So if we click on the next page button down here, it's going to come up to position ref. And this shows where the FMC is, the ground speed, IRS left, IRS right, the GPS left, GPS right, and radio position. These all give you different, or they should all give you the same coordinates eventually, but the most accurate one, and the one that pilots use, is GPS left. So this is the one that we're going to use on today's flight. We're going to input these numbers here into the IRS position. Anyway, so back to here, back to the first page. You can also, one other thing I should mention, you can scroll through pages backwards or forwards. It'll jump from 3 to 1, 1 to 3, and whatnot. Anyway, so to enter things here, we could either type this out manually, but obviously that'd be a pain to do and way too long. Or the other thing we can do is we can line select one of these. So we're going to hit next page, go to GPS left. We're going to click on line select key for left. We do that, you're going to see that these coordinates here are going to pop into the scratch pad. It's just a neat little feature that the 737 has. So the pilot doesn't have to type anything or everything out. They can just copy some stuff over. And we're going to hit previous page. You see it stays in the scratch pad. And then we're going to click here on line select key for right. Oh, and that's going to pop it in there. And that should disappear. So what you just saw there was a message that came up telling me to enter the IRS position because the IRS has finished aligning. You don't have to wait for that message, but that message just lets you know, hey, we're ready, we're just waiting for you now. But anyway, when I entered that, that message disappeared because it wasn't relevant anymore. Alright, so from this page to get to the route page, we can do one of two things. The first way is obviously to just hit route, and then as you can see, conveniently Charlie Yankee Yankee Charlie, or Calgary, pops up down here, and that's because we entered it as the airport we're at. So it obviously assumes that we're going to enter this into our origin box, which we will do by clicking on line select key 1 left. So that'll pop that into the origin box, and we need to type in the destination box. But before I do that, I'm going to show you the second way how to access it. So ignore me for a second here, I'll talk about this in a minute. So I'm going to go back to the position page, and then we are going to hit, instead of hitting route button up here, we're going to hit the RTE button down here. This will also take us to the route page. So what we can do from there is we're going to enter our destination. Our destination today is Charlie Yankee Victor Romeo, or Vancouver. Now, as you can see, these are dash lines, so they're not important, they're not required, not mandatory. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and enter them just because it'll make our life easier a little later on. So flight number, we can make up, we're just going to be WestJet 123. We are flying the WestJet livery today. As you guys can see there. WestJet 737-700. Okay, wrong button. Go back down to the FMC. WestJet 123 is going to be our flight number. We'll enter it line select key 2 right. Runway and company route. We're going to leave that blank. If you had a preloaded flight plan, you could enter it into company route. And I do have it. I'm just not going to enter it here. So what we could do is you would enter the name that it is in the folder. So it happens to be this in the folder. So then I would just enter that into company route, and it would automatically fill out the route for me. But we're not going to do that today. Ooh. Okay, so I accidentally hit the parking brake, or hit my brake. So that disconnected the parking brake. I'm going to try and put it back on. As you can see, one FMC turned off just because AC power was disconnected. I'm going to go ahead and reconnect it. So to access that initial menu, I just hit that menu button right there. That'll bring us right back to this page. And then I'm just going to go to this bit, ground power, connect. And now this is just IFLY specific. The real 737 obviously doesn't have this. But this is just to help with the simulation. Go back to the FMC. It'll pull me back to this page, and we hit what's in it? Route. Come back to here. Alright, let me just connect my ground power up again. There we go. Alright. So, You can see here. Alright, so you can see here now that we have page 1 out of 2. We're going to hit next page, and this is where we enter the route information. So I have the route on my operational flight plan. If you hear the sound cut out, just because I'm scrolling back and forth to enter the route correctly. Also going to put a link to the operational flight plan in the description below so that you guys can follow along with this flight if you so choose to. It's a pretty well-known route, so the ERIC cycle isn't likely to expire anytime soon. They've been using it for years. But anyway, I'm just going to pop over and we'll grab the route. Alright, so our route today takes us along boat tag, or takes us direct to boat tag. Alright, sorry about that. Direct to boat tag along the Q894 airway to Booth, and then on the Canuck 4 arrival to Vancouver. Pretty straightforward, and not much to enter here. It'll be really quick. So the first bit of this route is direct. So to enter a direct airway, you simply just type up the fix that you want to go to. So boat tag. Alright, so once that's in the scratch pad, you hit the line select key next to the first available dotted line under 2. So we're just going to enter that right there. As you can see, it goes direct to boat tag. Alright, next we want to enter an airway. I'm not going to go into detail what an airway is here. I'm just going to show you guys how to enter it. There's lots of information available online as to what an airway is and whatnot. But anyway, our airway today is the Quebec 894 airway. So we're going to enter Quebec 894 on the scratch pad. Alright, that on the scratch pad, and then on the VIA side, we're going to enter it on the first dash line, which happens to be line select key 2 left. Alright, so now you can see that the dashes over here have been replaced by boxes. So this basically means that you have to have an exit point from your airway. You have to enter it for the route to work. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back over, and our exit waypoint is Booth. So we type Booth into the scratch pad, and then we select the line select key next to the boxes. That goes right there. You can see it accepts that. Then that was there, that disappears, and that means that it's correct. And this is our entire flight plan. It's a fairly short flight, only an hour and 15 minutes. So we're just going to hit the activate button. So that means that this route's going to be active. You're going to see this execute key light up now. So this basically means it's asking you to confirm, do you really want to do this? If you want to do it, you hit the execute key. And yep, this is correct, so we're going to hit execute key. Now you can see that up here, it says ACT, or active route. If we were to modify this route, actually, you know what, I'll show you guys that later, but this basically means that this is the active route that we're following. So next thing, we're going to go previous page. As you can see, we're going to want to enter a runway for this. So you could either enter a runway here, and our runway happens to be 35 left today is our planned runway. So you could enter 35 left like that, and then click it on runway, and that works. Alright, so now here's something important. After you create your route, anytime you make a change to it, this is what I was going to show you before, but anytime you make a change to it, you're going to see mod. The active is going to be replaced by mod or modified. So, and it'll be highlighted white, like this. Also, any changes that you make are going to be highlighted white. So you can see we made a change, we added a runway, so the runway change is highlighted here. So it's highlighted white. Mod is highlighted white, so that's all that we're changing. We're not changing anything else. So if we wanted to accept it, so it's asking, are you sure you want to make this change? That's what it's asking by lighting an execute button. So we can say either yes and click the execute button, or if you want to say no, you click the erase button right here. So that'll erase whatever changes you have made. Because I'm going to show you a different way to enter the runway. We're going to click erase for now. And you can see it goes back to active route, and it erases what we had entered in runway before. Alright, So how we're going to enter it this time is we're going to go to the departure arrival page. To do that, click on this button right down here, right below Climb. Clicking on that, bring up this page. Alright, this page here, what we're going to click the departure page, so line select key 1 left, so this is the departure off of Calgary. Click depart, and you can see this is page 1 out of 2. We're going to try and find runway 35 left, so it's not going to be on page 1. We're going to hit next page, go to page 2, find runway 35 left. You click 35 left, you're going to see this select thing come up here, and the execute button is going to light up. Also, we have the departures available to us. So these are the SIDs. Again, I'm not going to go into explanation on what a SID is. That's for another video. This is just an FMC video. But we're going to fly the Calgary 6 departure today. So you can see there's no transitions. If there was a transition, you could select a transition from the list that would pop up when you select the SID. But anyway, you can see that the execute button lights up and the erase button shows up as well. So if we didn't want it, we could hit the erase, but we do want it, so we're going to hit execute. So from select, it becomes active, and those are the current active SIDs, or the SID and runway. So if we click on the route page again, you can see that runway 35 left has automatically been entered there. We go next page, see there's a route discontinuity. Blah, blah, blah. Can't talk today. But anyway, so this is important. When we're going through our route, we don't want to have any route discontinuities, or the aircraft isn't going to know what to do with it. So how do we deal with these? Alright, so I'm going to show you guys the easiest way. You could do it in the route page, but I find it's easier and just easier to understand and everything if we go to the legs page. So what we're going to do, we're going to hit the legs button right here. So the legs button, you can see this is all the different fixes along the airway. Not just the airway, or along the route, which there happens to be an airway in the route. So you can see the route discontinuity here. There's a gap in the route. So how do we fix this? Well, the easiest way is select the one that you want after we get our vectors. So we want to fly to bow tag after that. We're going to select bow tag. It's going to pop up in the scratch pad for us. Again, very, very nice feature of the 737. And we're just going to put it right here. As you can see, that route discontinuity disappears. Again, we get the modified route, get highlighted in white what we tried to change, and execute lights up. That's correct. We're going to hit execute, and as you can see, the route discontinuity disappears. So the next thing we want to enter is our star and arrival runway. We can change our arrival runway later, but for now, we're going to just select the one that's been given to us in our operational flight plan. We're going to select departure arrival. Again, we're going to go to CYVR, Charlie Yankee Victor Romeo, so that's Vancouver. We're going to hit the arrival page, and it'll pull up a very, very similar page, except on the left, these are all the various approaches, or correction, on the right, these are all the various approaches, and on the left, these are all the various stars. So, on departure, I selected the runway first, and then I selected the star. You could do the same here, however, I find it's easier to select a arrival or a star, and then select an approach. So we're going to be flying the booth. So as you can see, the execute light pops up. I clicked the wrong one. We're going to click erase because we do not want that. So it gets rid of it. We want the Canuck 4. We want the ILS 426 left, I believe is what we want. Yeah, the ILS for runway 26 left. We'll select that. So as you can see, there are no transitions for either of these. We're going to hit execute. Glide slope on and off. So this is if the glide slope wasn't working, we could select it off or on. Or the aircraft to follow the glide slope off or on. We're going to leave it on. I'm going to go back to the route. Hit next page. And check for discontinuities. You can see that the star has automatically been entered here. That's all good. And we're going to go to the legs page. What I'm going to do at the legs page is you can see that there's the distances. So this is the distance from the previous waypoint. So this is 20. So boat tag is 22 nautical miles from Calgary. SIMTA is 7.1 nautical miles from boat tag, and so on and so forth. I'm just going to go through and make sure that there are no ridiculously long legs like 1,000 miles, because that would mean that we entered something out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean or whatever. And I don't see any of those. It all looks good to me. And I'm just hitting next page to scroll through. So what we're going to do is now I'm going to hit the INIT REF page. So it's going to bring up this page right here. The other way, or there's two other ways actually we could get to this page. If you go back to the route, you can click the perf init button. It'll bring you to this page. Go back to, or go to route. Sorry, correction. If you click on, what do we click on here? INIT REF. If you do happen to be on another page, such as if you happen to be on the Takeoff page, for instance, we'll get to this in a minute, but if you happen to be on the Takeoff page, you can click Index, and then you could go to perf init page. So this is where we enter various information. So our zero fuel weight today, which is this line, which is what we're going to enter, is 113.1. All right. Our reserves for today's flight is 5.1. Again, these are in pounds, so 5,100 pounds in reserves. Our cost index, so yeah, that's another thing I should mention real quick, is whenever you get, or your reserve fuel weight, your fuel, and that's about it. I can think of off the top of my head, but aircraft weight and fuel is always entered in 3 digits or 2 digits or 1 digit, decimal, and then 1 more digit. So, and I disconnected my ground power again. 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. I keep hitting my brake pedal. I'm not going to bother connecting the ground air conditioning. I'm going to go back here, position init, route, perf init, and let me just check real quick if our IRSs are, our right IRS is still up. Looks like it is. Alright, so we're good there. Cost index for today's flight is 1717. A little bit high, not too bad. We're going to be cruising at flight level 380. And you know what? For today's demonstration purposes, we're going to go 360, even though our flight plan suggests 380. We're going to say 360. This other stuff you can enter. This would be usually what your cruise average winds are, or the other way you could do it is top of climb winds, and then you could change this once you get to top of climb for your cruise average winds. You can enter the top of climb outside air temperature here. I'm not going to bother doing all that in the interest of time today, but again, as you can see, it's dash line, so it's only optional. And then you can enter your planned fuel as well here. These aren't requirements, so just help aid in the aircraft's accuracy when it's calculating things. But I'm not going to enter that today. So we're going to hit the execute button once we're done all that, so confirm that's all correct. And then we're going to go to the N1 limit page. So the N1 limit page, this is how much your engine is going to derate your aircraft on takeoff. So derate means how much less thrust it's going to be. So depending on how long your runways are and the temperature, you can derate the engine. And I do have a calculator for that. Oh, it's a really awesome calculator. It was designed for the Zibo 737, so it isn't 100% accurate, but it's pretty close, and it's the best one I've found so far. I'll pull it up for you guys as soon as it loads. Also, we'll have a link to where you can download it below. Alright, so we're in a 737-700. Just pulled it up on the screen there for you guys. If we click takeoff performance, there's not a tutorial on how to use this, but we're just going to go through where I'm getting the information from. Charlie Yankee Yankee Charlie is our departure. We get weather from that sim. So it looks like 3.5 left is not going to be the best option for us. Alright, so you know what? We are going to select 17 right, and this is actually going to be a good thing. I'll show you guys how to change the runway if we need to. But we're going to go ahead and finish calculating our takeoff weight. So to get the takeoff weight, we got to go back to perf init. Our gross rate is 129.0. 129,000. De-ice, we won't be needing that. Flaps, optimum, thrust D rate. We have 22, we have 20, we have 18 and 24. So yeah, sure, we'll use that. Assume temperature. Actually, you know what? 22 is our lowest. Or is our highest, sorry. Alright, so we don't have 24, so if it asks for 24, we'll just select something else. Assume temperature, yes. The calculate button. So it wants flaps 5, thrust 20K. Alright, so we'll derate it there. And select temperature 48. So we're going to enter 48 and enter it into this line. And this page is just optional. You don't need to do it. But this will automatically select climb 2 and takeoff 1 or 20K derate will be active. I'm not going to go into detail on what all this means. You can Google derated takeoffs. And actually, I believe Mentor Pilot has a good video on this. If I can find it, I'll be sure to link it up somewhere up on the screen now. Anyway, so after this is done, we're going to go to the takeoff page. Again, if you don't have this tool, you don't need to worry about this page. It's just an optional page. I just like to enter it for realism's sake. So we're going to go to the takeoff page. We're going to use flaps 5 as suggested. Well, let me just take this off the screen so you guys can see better. Alright, flaps 5, our CG today is 30%. So if you remember the V speeds on the calculator, it said 132 was V1, 133 was VR, 134 was V2. So we're going to need to go back to the runway, and we're going to change the runway and see if anything switches up. So to change the runway, go back to departure/arrival, and click the departure button. And we're going to find 17 right. Clicking on 17 right, you can see the Calgary 6 departure is still selected, so we don't need to change that. The 17 right departure, or runway, is now selected. Execute, that'll change it. If we go to our route page, you can see it's automatically been changed. Legs, we don't have any discontinuities, that's all good. Go back to route, click takeoff, so that jumps us straight back to this page. So to accept these V speeds, you can see they haven't changed. Or one other thing, we can go here. These are all optional. You can enter runway wind. You can enter this stuff here, which is if you're worrying about your noise abatement departures, you can play with that. Cut back, again, noise abatement departure stuff. I'm not going to worry about that for today. It would take too long to explain and set up. In the interest of time, we're just going to accept this what it is. Again, page 2 is completely optional. You don't need to do it. But for page 1, we're gonna. If you want to do this, if you're following along, go ahead. By all means, enter the stuff here. Again, it's the same if we wanted to say 800 feet as the reduction. You could enter that there, and it would pop up as 800. We're just gonna put it back to 1500 though. All right. Previous page, and then to accept these V speeds, you just click the line select key next to them, and they become big letters. And if you look. Okay, a little bit of lag. But if you look here, you can see it shows up on the speed tape. We're also going to enter the V2 speed, which is 130. It's too blurry. 138. We're going to enter it up here. Again, this is not a pre-flight tutorial. I do have a pre-flight tutorial series. I suggest you guys go check that out as well. But that's your pre-flight. So your pre-flight on the FMC is now complete. Congratulations if you got this far. You can set your trim. It's our trim today. 3.82 units on your trim wheel. Am I doing it the right way? Yep. Oh, we can barely use this. Wrong way. Too far. Yeah, it's about 3.82. Alright, so 3.82 set on the trim wheel. And yeah, that's your pre-flight is completed, so I'll meet you guys when's the next time we do this. Really, as long as you know your V speeds on takeoff, you don't really need... Oh, the other thing actually I wanted to show you guys before we go, sorry. If we go back to our legs page, we want to check that this route is complete on our navigational display. We'll go here, back up to our main view. I'm just going to pull this up in a 2D panel. It's bigger. Let's see if we get the resolution right. Wide, maybe. There we go, it's a little better. And we're just going to pop this guy up. Alright, so if we move our map to plan mode, you can see our aircraft shows up. Zoom it out a little ways. So it's currently on vector, so that dashed line. So if you're on the legs page, you'll see that this line select key down here turns to step. You click on step, it moves the center button. So this is basically where it centers the map. So it's now going to center at OTAG, and then it'll move down the route. So this is one way to check that you have a complete route and nothing's weird with it. Okay, so everything looks alright all the way down to Vancouver runway there. And that's the missed approach. Alright, so that all looks good. So if you go back to map, you see that disappears and becomes route data, which I'll talk about when we're in the air. That's about it. You guys can get your aircraft ready to go, and I'll meet you guys on the Climbout. Alright guys, so one other thing I just wanted to note as we prepare for takeoff is I am leaving it in this Takeoff ref page. And the first officer, I'm sticking in the legs button. I just wanted you guys to see which modes they were in. Just so you, we're rolling. Just so that, I'm going to make a point about this in a few minutes. But, letting you know, Takeoff ref on the captain's side and the legs page on the first officer side. Alright guys, so I have just completed my after takeoff checks. And as you can see on the ND, we're still climbing runway heading, and we should be turning right to PROG anytime now. So let's just say ATC called us up. They wouldn't, or yeah, let's just say ATC called us up and said, turn WestJet 123, turn right, direct PROG. So we would reply, alright, turning right, direct PROG, WestJet 123. Alright, so how would you do this now? Well, one way is obviously to use heading select and just get us over in that direction, follow the magenta line. Other way, it's a little bit easier, is if you hit the legs button. And that's why I have legs open on the pilot not flying side. They would usually do this, but, or to my knowledge, they would usually do this, but it's just easier in our case to just do it on ours. So we're going to click on PROG, that'll pull it up in the scratch pad, and we're going to click on the vector line. As you can see, modify route comes up, and that's correct. We're going to hit execute, and as you can see, aircraft now wants to turn direct to PROG. Why is it not doing that? I don't have LNAV engaged, so we're going to go ahead and wrong button. There we go. Hit the LNAV button. And there we go, we're turning direct PROG. Simple as that. Also, the other thing is, if you guys notice, when the takeoff page automatically switched over this econ climb page. Wrong button again. Alright, might as well talk about this now. So this is the climb page, what all these buttons do, or these other options do. Again, Flight Deck to Sim, as I mentioned earlier, has a great video on the max angle, max rate, and the engine outfits, and I won't be talking about that. You could enter a speed restriction here. We are above 10,000, so usually this would be 250 up to 10,000, but there's no speed restrictions right now, so we can leave that one blank. You can also see that it just switched over to our regular climb. and 1, so now engines are operating at 95.1%. This is here how far it is to top of climb, 80 nautical miles. We'll get there at about 31 Zulu, and we're going to be cruising at 36,000 feet today. So that's all good. While we get up there, we're climbing fairly fast today, already at 17,000. I'll talk to you guys once we're up at top of climb. Alright guys, so as you can see, we're just approaching our top of climb here. It was a little bit earlier than the FMC predicted. Again, we didn't fill out all the information, so it wasn't the most accurate prediction of all time. However, that's alright. I'm just going to match the heading real quick. 2, 3. This is just a good habit to match the heading to your course. But anyway. Should be 242. Okay. As you can see down here, this just ticked over to Econ Cruise. Let me get a closer view for you guys. So you can see our cruise altitude. So our optimum is actually flight level 390. We're sitting at flight level 360. Our current speed is 0.759 Mach, and we have 200 miles to top of descent. Our turbulence and 1 speed. So if turbulence got really bad, we would disconnect the auto throttle and set this manually, the speed in. This is our current wind, and this is the estimated fuel at Vancouver. Alright, so what I'm going to talk about really quick is step climbs. So how do we do a step climb? Well, the first way we can do it, if we wanted to do a step climb right now, enter our altitude, 380. You could also enter 38,000, or you could enter FL380, but I find the easiest way is just enter 380, works equally as well, and enter that into step. I believe on the real one you would see something come up that would say fuel savings, and it would give you all that information. We hit this progress button. Yeah, it doesn't show it either, so that is a flaw. Go back to the cruise button here. So that is a flaw of the 737 IFLY. In the real aircraft, I believe it shows you how much fuel you would save by actually step climbing up. But anyways, this is as close as we can get to our optimum. We could also go above that, but the operational flight plan said 380 is the best. The other way we could do this, we're just going to erase this for a minute, is if we go on legs, say we wanted to only step climb at Booth, or at Bingo, because Booth is after a top percent. We can go /380S. Okay, that doesn't want to work. Alright, sorry about that, guys. I was just getting a little bit confused with the 777 and the 787 and whatnot. With those, you can enter it on the legs page as well, but my apologies, you can only enter it on the cruise page, so you step using that button right there. So step 380, we want to do this now because we only have 180 miles now until our top percent. So we're going to hit execute. Step point now. Right, we're going to go back up. Beautiful clouds, by the way. Thank you, active sky. We're going to go up to 380. Then hit the altitude increment button. As you can see, we should be climbing. Climb, 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 little plane climb. You can also see the step climb thing comes up on our ND here. Alright, so you can see that it becomes active econ cruise climb. So that just basically means that you're doing a step climb right now. Alright, so other thing I wanted to talk about while we're up in cruise is the progress page. So if you click on progress, this page gives you a bunch of useful information, including your last waypoint use path, which was Simta, altitude level 300 is what we passed it at. We arrived at 0240 and fuel is 13.9 tons of that. We can see the next 2 waypoints as well as our destination, all the distance to go, the estimated time of arrival, and the fuel. And this would be, or it says to step point, so that's when we should be stepping. It could also say to top of climb, it would give you a distance and time, or it could say to top of descent, or to end a descent. And all those will give you a distance and time. Here's the current winds, how much fuel you have on board right now, and then click on that, that goes over to your nav status. So that's just the frequencies basically that are tuned in and how many IRSs and GPS is active. I'm not going to worry about going into that other stuff as it's more advanced for this tutorial. However, we are going to go to the next page. You see there are 4 pages here. This just shows you your headwind, crosswind, the actual winds, the temperature, and whatnot. We go page 3. This is the RTA progress. That's another tutorial in and of itself. It's a more complex system. But if you guys are interested in that, go ahead and Google it. If I can find a video, I'll link it up. If not, well, there's lots of documentation available. I don't think PMDG actually simulates this page. IFLY definitely does, so if you're doing an IFLY, I don't know about SIBO and whatnot, but if you're flying IFLY, just read up on the documentation of RTA. And then this one is the RNP, so this is your how accurate your information is. So required navigational performance is 2 nautical miles, and our actual is 0.02 nautical miles, so we are definitely within the required performance. Okay, so we're going to go back to the cruise page. And the first officer, we'll just leave it up in the legs page. Alright, so the next thing to talk to you guys about will be when we're a little bit closer to our descent. See you guys then. Alright guys, so welcome back to the cockpit. We're still 120 miles away from our top of descent. However, I'm going to go ahead and start our descent planning now, just so I have time to talk to you guys about, well, how to do all this. It's going to take me a little longer than it usually does. I would usually start at about 80 nautical miles or so before top of descent, but we'll give ourselves the extra 40 nautical miles to plan this. Alright, so let's hop down to the FMC. Wrong button again. Hop down to the FMC. Alright, you can still see we're in the active econ cruise page. The first thing we're going to go do is go over to the legs. Alright, so we just want to verify that all the altitude restrictions that are shown there are what they say on the chart. Alright, so the first altitude restriction on the chart is that stave, we need to be between 12,000 and 9,200 and slower than 230 knots. So you can see on this line here, the first part, or on this part, you see 3 numbers, a dash, and then 4 numbers, or more, as in this case right here. So the first 3 numbers on this are the speed. The second set of numbers is the altitude. So if it's big letters like this, it means it's a restriction. So we can see it's stave, the restriction is 230B, so 230 knots or below, at 9,200 above, or 12 or below 12,000. So that's what 9,200 or above, or 12,000, and not or, and 12,000 below 12,000. Sorry guys, can't speak today. Okay, the next one is my GoPad. So the restriction there is 9,000 above. The next one after that is Mogus, 7,000 above. That's correct. The next page, Obit, is 5,000 above, that's correct, and Goreg is 3,000 or above, that's also correct. Alright, so let's just say, for whatever reason, one of these wasn't correct. What should we say that's not correct, just for the sake of the tutorial? Alright, you know what, I know that save is supposed to be 200 knots. Here's a good example. So that is not shown there. So what we can do, we can enter 200 and we enter slash. So 200 means that you have to be at 200 knots, and then the slash means that whatever afterwards. So if you enter that there, you see modify legs, and then we see that what's been entered. So 200 knots is going to be your speed restriction, and then 3,000 or above. So hit execute, and that's correct. So let's just say OGTOT, just for example, it was 6,000 below. We say 6,000, we could type B, we could enter it like that, and it would automatically pop in. We're not going to execute because that's not correct. But why did I not enter a slash? If you're entering an altitude, you don't need a slash. So 300 without a slash becomes flight level 300. Alright, so that all looks correct. Next thing to do is, or this is just something that I like to do. I've seen flight, or actually I learned this from Flight Deck to Sim. He likes to do this as well. What we do is we're going to select runway 26 left. We're going to select that into the scratch pad by clicking on it. And what we're going to do, we're going to go to fix page. So you can see there are 2 fixed pages. I believe the PMDG aircraft, or 737, has 6 fixed pages. We only have 2 on the IFLY. So we're going to enter fix rate. I hit just next page, so you can see this went to the second fixed page. Again, this is technicalities. First fixed page is usually saved for emergencies, so we don't want to use that. We're going to go to the second fixed page. Click it into fix. And then we're going to go /10. Or actually /4, sorry, /4 is the first one, and then /10. Alright, so this basically means it's going to draw a ring 4 nautical miles around runway 26 left, and another ring 10 nautical miles around 26 left. If we go to our ND here, make it really big, it's kind of hard to see, but you know what, you guys will see it as we get a little closer. Let's go back to map. Alright. The wrong button. I keep going to the overhead panel. I'm just used to my old combination for that. What did I want? Legs, that's what I wanted. Okay. We talked about that, blah, blah, blah. Progress. Okay, so we can see we're still 88 miles, so making good time. The next thing to do is go to the descent page, and this is the descent forecast page is what we want. So this is going to be our descent information. Hitting the forecast page will bring up this menu. So if we had a different transition level, we could change it here. Say we 7,000 equal to center 7,000, and it would change it there. We want flight level 180 as our transition level in North America. Cabin rate, if you wanted to change how fast that's going to go down, we could change that there. This is if we had ice. So say we had icing from 30,000 feet to 23,000 feet. Put that in there. And if we hit execute, that would mean that it would increase the thrust at that point to accommodate for the anti-ice that we need to turn on. But we don't have any ice, so we're going to clear that. Now, how would you clear that? So what we can do, we're going to hit delete. Then we're going to click. So that'll bring up this delete come up in here. If we click up here, it'll get rid of it. It would do that if we did that on any other thing or any other line too. Hit execute because we don't want icing there. Alright, the other special buttons I want to talk about, because I forgot to mention this earlier, I apologize, is this. So that's a space button right there. You can see it puts a space in between if you needed it. And this button. So that's a minus if you want it, and it toggles between plus and minus. So if you wanted to go minus 9 degrees Celsius and throw that in there, you could do that. Again, these are all optional. You don't need to do this. I just like to put this in. So I'm just going to stick in the wind speeds. And you could either do this from your operational flight plan, say at 200. I don't know what it says exactly, but 200. And then we could go 080 at 69. You could do that. I'm going to hit erase for now. And, oh, wrong button. Sorry. That. And then we're going to go legs, route data. And, oh, you know what? I haven't enabled it for this aircraft. So on my 800, the IFLY 800, I've enabled the ACARS download, so it'll automatically fill it out for me based on ActiveSky. And I'm kind of lazy, feeling lazy right now, so I'm not going to bother to enter this, but if you guys are following along, by all means go ahead and enter it. You know what? I'm actually going to go ahead and enter 1 here, just for example. Just pulling up my operational flight plan. We're going to enter the 10,000 feet one. So 100 from flight level 100 or 10,000 feet, because it will automatically correct. The winds are 193 at 31. 193 at 31. Alright, we're going to hit execute. And again, this just helps us get the information more accurately, or the computer to calculate our descent information more accurately. Alright, the next place we need to go is going to be the departure arrival page. Now, if you haven't selected your runway, or if you need to change your runway, now is the perfect time to do that by selecting, you see your runway along here, and then hitting the execute button, and then making sure you have no discontinuities on your legs page. We don't need to do that, so we're going to hit the INIT REF button. It's going to bring us to this page, and this has various information including our gross weight, our flaps and the corresponding VRF speeds, the runway information, and how much wind correction we want to add to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull up that performance tool again. You guys just have to give me a second. And this will allow us to calculate, what was I going to calculate? Yeah, our auto brake setting and all that, and it'll give us an approximation on our VRF speed. It'll also tell us which flap settings are most appropriate for the runway we're landing on today. Okay, pulling it up. I'll just throw it up on the screen for you guys. There you guys go. I'm going to go landing performance, Vancouver. Where we want it lands from that sound. We're going to go runway 26 left to Windsor 1808. We should probably, actually, no, 26 left is fine. So our landing weight, we got to figure that out now. Alright, so our gross landing weight, as we can see on this page here, is going to be 125,000 pounds. So we're going to enter that into our calculations. Flaps optimum, both reversers. We're not going to be using auto land today. All that looks good. We're going to hit calculate. So it says we're going to be should be using flaps 30. And auto brake 2 looks like what we'll be using today to stop. So just to show you guys how accurate it is, you can see the VRF speed 131, 131. The landing I have found is very, very accurate when it comes to VRF speeds. Takeoff, not so much. But anyway, so we're going to be using auto brake 2. Thank you very much. And yes, I want it. All right. So flaps 30 is what it suggested. Go back up here. We're going to be using auto brake 2. Wrong button again. Okay, next thing, we want to check that this frequency in this course is the same as it is on the charts. This is just the ILS frequency in course. And it is, so what we can do, we can go ahead and set it on our nav radios. 111.0. 110.7. 110.7. And then we're going to set it to the course up here as well. Three. All right, and we are ready for descent now. I'm just going to go pop back over to the cruise page, and again, once we start descending, it'll automatically flip over to the descent page. But yeah, that's about it for now. I'll talk to you guys when we're down on the approach, and we'll just discuss how to set up holds. Alright guys, so just want to talk about this real quick. As you can see here, this FMC light has come on here, and it basically means that there's a message that just popped up on the FMC. So if we hop down to our FMC, we can see the message says reset MCP altitude. It's because we are 1 mile from our top of descent. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And when we do that, it clears the message. So just basically follow what the FMC wants you guys to do, and it'll clear itself. I'll set this down to 9,000 real quick. If for whatever reason, like you get a nav data out of date, the other option to clear a message off the FMC is to hit the clear button, and that would clear off whatever messages come up. As you guys can see, it just switched over to active EFOG path descent. so we're now descending via VNAV, and all this other information has popped up. Anyway, talk to you guys more a little bit closer to the airport, and again, we'll discuss holds. I think we'll set up a hold at Stave. So guys, one thing I forgot to do, I thought I'd just mention this now, I made a mistake on, I should say, is on the, go back to the INIT REF page, you can see our gross weight has changed, because I forgot to subtract the fuel. So we are gonna, from here we'll set this right, we're gonna lose 1,000 pounds in weight. So we're gonna set our gross weight here to 123.2, a funny number, our call sign. Fortunately, we can see that the flap speeds are the same. However, if it was a large change, if we were doing this well before top of descent, you would definitely want to do this, because the VRF speeds could be slower than what suggested there. Again, how I got that, our current fuel subtracted from the fuel at, or the estimated fuel at our destination, and then you subtract that in the gross weight, and that would show you this. Again, it got rid of it because we moved off the page, but if we wanted to check that again, we could go 123.2, and that would show us the speeds for that weight. Move off the page, come back, it's back to your current. So if you mess up, don't worry about it, just get off the page. If we accidentally entered 150 for whatever reason on accident, you can see the speeds change. But if you go off the page, you come back, it's back to what it is right now. So again, if we were down to maybe only 120, see the speeds decrease, and then you could enter that speed, stick that in there. Go back here, go to INIT REF, speeds are back to what they should be, so stick that back in, and we're good. Alright, so other messages you could get on the FMC, I should mention this as well, is you could get a drag required, in which case you just extend the speed brakes so that the aircraft could slow down. You get a thrust required, which basically means that the aircraft can't maintain its speed, so you either need to increase the descent rate or retract your speed brakes, which is the most common case of that problem. But yeah, those are the other two most common messages that people get. I'm just going to switch back to our descent page on here. Alright guys, so we're coming down, we're approaching 10,000 feet here. So I just checked the weather, and it turns out we're going to have about 10 to 12 knot tailwind on approach if we don't change the runway. So this could make it interesting. So now we have options of either switching the runway or continuing on this runway. For the sake of this tutorial, we're going to set up a hold at saved, and then we're going to discuss about whether or not it would be a good idea to continue. Now normally we would do this well before then, but we're just going to assume that the winds had a dramatic change while we were at saved. So how do you set up a hold? Alright, so you guys see this hold button right here? We're going to click on hold. So this will come up with the hold at Georgia. So this is the mixed approach hold, and it's already inputted in there. So if we have to go on a mixed approach, we'll fly up to Georgia and do a hold there. However, we want to set up our own, so we're gonna click next hold. So we're gonna find where we want to have our hold at. We want to have it saved. We're gonna click on save. We're gonna put it into that box there. All right. So now we have to fill out the rest of this information. Our speed, we want it to be at 200 knots according to the chart, and 3,000 or above. We are going to have our inbound course. What does the chart say about that? Inbound course looks to be 263. And we are doing left-hand turns. So the standard is right-hand turns. So under 263, and we're going to go /L. So that'll change it to left-hand turns. Leg time, we're going to fly a 1 minute leg. Here's that drag required message. So we're going to extend our speed brakes to help slow down a little bit. So you can hear the speed brakes out. Best speed 205, hold available, so we have 53 minutes hold available. And yeah, so that's the information. If we wanted to fill out a leg distance, we could. We could fill out the other information if we needed to. That's usually not used, so we won't worry about it. In fact, I don't even know if all of this is simulated in, but we're gonna hit the execute button. As you can see, we don't need those speed brakes anymore. We'll get rid of those. Anyway, so once that's all done, so you can see up on our ND, we have our hold over at saved right there, and the aircraft will enter that automatically, and then we can discuss as to whether or not we want to switch runways. We're gonna go back to our descent page. Alright, so we're just about to enter the hold here at saved. You guys can also see the range rings I entered, and these are to help me configure once we get on to final approach. Anyway, let's just watch the aircraft enter the hold, see how well it follows the magenta line here. We are using LNAV and VNAV currently. Also, if you guys are wondering about the scenery, yeah, it's blurry way out there, but for whatever reason, the way it's set as you fly over it. I also am using reduced scenery settings to keep my frame rates decent while streaming. But for whatever reason, as you fly over it, it becomes sharper. So if we were to go outside in the top-down view, okay, as you can see, right over where we're flying, it's not too bad. Again, as I said, I turned down. All right, I've turned down. Okay, and it's bad again. Turn down settings just so that the frame rates stay decent. So you guys are gonna have to excuse me there. But anyway, let's see, it's decent out here. All right, let's watch it. Okay, this is doing a terrible job of following that magenta line so far. The real aircraft, I believe, would follow it very, very precisely. Oh gosh, what's going on there? It looks like it's about to fall over, and it's doing it again. What's with the rudder? I'm not even touching the rudder. Alright, guess we're gonna... the yaw adapter's not working properly or something. Alright, well now that we're somewhat in the hold, I'm just going to show you guys how you would change the runway if we were to change it. I'm going to stick with the same runway in the interest of time. But you go to departure arrival, click the arrival button, and then you simply select a different runway. If you wanted to do the ILS for 08, right? Select that, select the transition if you wanted. Obviously this arrival is not applicable for the runway, so you'd have to select a different arrival. But anyway, when we don't want to do that. You'd hit execute if you wanted it and fill out any discontinuity in the legs. As you can see here, there would be a discontinuity. We'd want to fly the bubble next. But we're not going to be doing that today. So we're going to hit the erase button. Erase, and it's gone. We can clear that message by hitting the clear key. We're good. Alright, I'm going to go back to this. Alright, now, we decided we want to exit this hold. Yeah, it's a little bit better following the magenta line. Still acting really weird. Okay, anyway. So if we go to hold, simply all we gotta do is hit exit hold. And the aircraft is going to exit the hold and get back on course that way. So hit execute. Exit is armed. So it hasn't exited yet. We're still technically in the hold, but it's going to exit it at the next possible chance. Shouldn't have done that, should have waited. Okay, and we're going to approach mode. Exit arm will flick off. So there we go, as soon as we cross save. So now we're exited the hold, and we are in approach mode still. We have the localizer. For whatever reason, it's not turning magenta, but it has picked up the localizer. See it up here too. It's picked up the localizer. Still waiting on the glide slope. See the runway out there, so we do have a visual on the runway. Scenery's not too bad. It's catching up. Alright, let's put flaps 5 down. Bit early, but whatever. It's a little smaller. We'll set our weather radar. I don't have a landing rate monitor running right now, so you guys won't be able to see. Okay, so it looks like the fields are decent, but the city is terrible. One problem at a time, I guess. Fix the frame rates, somewhat fix the frame rates, and fix the scenery next time. But anyways, guys, for the FMC, that's about it, really. Once you land, it automatically resets. And I really haven't played around with the FMC off screen. Everything that I've done, here we go, that's what's coming in, has been on screen. So what you guys saw is how do you operate the FMC on a simple flight like this. So feel free, as I said, I'll link the flight plan and everything down below. You guys can follow along as you see fit. And yeah, enjoy learning how to operate the FMC. Again, this took me, flaps 10. This took me a lot longer than one flight to learn. It took me, I don't know, weeks, not more. So take your time, be patient, go through this multiple times if you need. And
2500.
Pull up.
It's no terrain. We're good. Yeah, as I was saying, take your time, learn it, go through this tutorial multiple times, and enjoy. Just play through the landing here for you guys. I'm sure you all want to see it. And then that'll be it. So if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, share, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on future upcoming videos. And comment down below what tutorial you guys would like to see next. Have a good one, guys.
100. Light slope.